Hey guys, make yourself a better guitar player by playing on fresh new strings. This string, as you can see by the dust, or this guitar, it's been a while since the strings have been changed. I'm starting to take these off with a string winder. Really saves time by using one of these. They're pretty inexpensive and easy. They wind them real quick. I get them loose enough to unwind them, and then I can peel them off by hand. Just be careful not to poke your finger and get a needle in there. This one has quite a few winds around here. I usually go for 2 to 3 winds around the peg, and I'll show you how we do that in a little bit, but it comes across here, and this is where you got to get it out without getting poked. So we'll do that. I'm going to do that to half the strings, and we'll start there. I'll be right back. Sometimes on an acoustic guitar, these peg guys that are sticking the string in there have to be pried out. Sometimes you can get them out with your fingers like this, but they can be pretty tight. Some of the string winder peg things have this little gouge in them that will pry these open like this and help you get them out. But do whatever you got to do, just don't hurt yourself. Got these string ends out, and you can see how the string used to look when it was new compared to how it gets real dirty after a while. That dirt in there will help it, or make it so strings can't even tune up to pitch. I had a heck of a time sometimes trying to tune my guitar, and it wouldn't even go in tune because the dirt in there would cause it to be all wonky. Okay, next step in this, I got the 3 strings off, is you find a sock from the laundry, make sure it's clean, but you find the one with the hole in it, and then you use that for your rag. This isopropyl alcohol is about $1.50 for a thing or something. It works great for cleaning up the guitar neck. So I did end up having to use this little pry tool to get some of these out. You can kind of see if you get underneath, it pries it out of there. Loosen it out, and then the ball end of the string goes in this hole. Sometimes they jam up in here too. There, we got it out. Now we're going to start feeding the strings back through. I'm going to start on the fat string, put it in there and pry it in, and then tune it up. I'll be right back for that. Okay, hopping back on. I love Ernie Ball strings. I have an endorsement with Ernie Ball. They sell these coated strings, which I love for acoustic guitar. They last a lot longer. But the original ones that I fell in love with too on acoustic guitar are these Gore-Tex coated Elixir strings. These come standard on Taylor guitars right out of the factory. And I'm using a gauge size 10 on here, so the thinnest string is a 10. That should be easier to play. They're thinner than 11s or 12s. The bigger the number, the thicker the string. So we're going to use a set that's a little thinner and go for it there. So I start usually with the fattest string. I don't know if there's really a rhyme or reason for that, but I'll pull the string out. It comes wound like this, and unwind it and get that ball end free. And I'm going to stick the ball end in the hole like this, and then we put that little stick in there to hold it in place. Stick in here. I think these are called pegs. Anyway, the peg has a little groove in it. I'm going to put the groove facing the headstock. Slide it in to the hole, and then I'm going to pull the string up on it until it gets kind of wedged in place. Got it all the way in. Now I pull the string up, and it feeds in between that gap and wedges itself and pries itself in that little spot. That's what you do there. Then when you go to this end to feed the string through, you're going to take the string, feed it through from the inside to the outside, from the inside of the guitar neck, feeding away from the guitar. So you find the hole, either way you do it, from the front or the back, but make sure it comes in from this. Go through the hole here. If you can see good enough to get in the hole here. Goes in the hole. Then when you wind it, I want to wind it so it winds up to the inside of the guitar neck. So in this case, I'm turning the peg left. So it goes from the inside of the guitar neck out. Again, if I haven't said that enough times. So we go like this. I don't want to have tons of string wound up here, and they give you tons of extra string to work with. So I feed it through quite a ways. And I usually put my hand in here to make a bridge so I know about how much string to use. I get about that much string. Then I know how much extra is hanging out there. I put a kink in the string right here. So I see where it's going to start winding, and it kind of connects from that spot. Then I can take my peg winder, start winding it on there. It should wind underneath where the string goes through. And if I have that much gap, I should get about 2 winds before it's almost up to pitch. See? That's about all you need, not a lot of extra overlap so that the string gets caught up when it's tuning. It's about perfect right there. I'm I'm going to do that to these other strings and jump back on. So when you insert the ball end of the string, it's vibrating like crazy, you put it in the hole where the string goes, and then you'll put this peg in. The peg will go in like this, and then you'll pry up that string. You'll pull the string up until it wedges between this plastic and the wood of the guitar, and that holds it in place. So I hope you can see that okay. It's got a groove there. It's going to rest in that groove between the guitar and the string. Okay, cruising along here on the string change. The string goes up, enters in from the inside of the neck and pokes out. Then I kink the string, and that's when you can use the string winder to wind it up. And I wind the string underneath where the string went through the hole, so it's between the string and the guitar neck, winding that string up like that. After we get them all on here, then we'll take a wire clipper and clip these off. Okay, what I started to do was get all the strings roughly near where they'd be in tune, not fine-tuning them in any way, and then I'm going to cut the string ends that I don't need off on each of the strings before we stretch the strings and then tune them up to pitch. Be sure to be careful with these string ends. They will poke you, and I have bled many times. So, string changing part 2. I've got all the strings removed and put back on, so we have new strings on there. I was careful to wind just two or three little loops around for each string on the headstock. All the strings feed from the middle out, and now I've got all the strings on there, and they're roughly in tune. And what I like to do is put my finger on the first fret and take the string and pull up on it all the way across, to give it a little bit of a stretch. You don't want to stretch too much, but you don't want to do not enough, so you got to get a feel for that. But it will go a lot out of tune. That's to get it back in pitch there. Now it's in pitch. Now I'll stretch it again and watch this. Oh boy. Even more. So they'll stretch quite a bit. I usually do this at least 3 times on each string, otherwise you'll be tuning your guitar over and over again for 6 months before it stays in tune. Something important to note when you're stretching your strings, don't be as aggressive on these skinny strings. They're more likely to break. So just be a little softer, less pulling on these, more gentle. Hey, another trick I do a lot is when I'm tuning my guitar up, I always want to tune from too low up to the pitch. It's green there. If it's a little too low, I'll bump it up till it turns green. But if I go too far, if I go like that, I don't want to just go down till it turns green. I want to go underneath it again and go back up to green. It winds up better on the peg and stays in tune better over the long run. So always go from too low right up to pitch. Don't go over and try to go back.